Chosen one, Mercury retrograde is finally over, but before you celebrate, send that message, sign the agreement, reopen the door, or rush into your next beginning, there is one mistake you must avoid on July 24th. This mistake can take every lesson you received during the retrograde and turn it into another repetition of the life you were trying to live. It can pull you back into the same confusing relationship. It can make you accept the same unfair agreement under different language. It can cause you to launch the right idea through the wrong structure. The mistake is simple: moving forward so quickly that you leave the lesson behind. Mercury has turned direct, but direct motion does not mean every misunderstanding has already been resolved. It does not prove that the person returning has changed, the opportunity reopening is right, or the plan you delayed is ready to be expanded immediately. The station is only the turning point. A car that changes direction does not instantly reach full speed. It must enter the correct lane, stabilize, and then accelerate. Your life needs the same approach. July 24th stands between review and movement. The past several weeks may have exposed what happens when you communicate indirectly, trust potential more than evidence, make decisions through emotional memory, or continue supporting an arrangement because changing it feels uncomfortable. Now the road is beginning to open, but if you move without integrating what was revealed, Mercury direct will not create a new beginning. It will give the old cycle fresh momentum. Before we continue, write *777 in the comments. Write it as your declaration that you will not rush back into what the retrograde taught you to recognize. Write *777 if you are ready to move forward with clearer communication, stronger boundaries, and a more honest relationship with reality. The most dangerous sentence you can say on July 24th is, "Everything is normal again." Everything is not supposed to return to normal. The retrograde interrupted normal because something inside your normal life required examination. Perhaps your normal communication depended on hints, assumptions, and unspoken expectations. Perhaps your normal relationship pattern involved waiting for inconsistent people to decide how much access you were allowed to have. Perhaps your normal work pattern required you to accept unclear responsibilities and hope recognition arrived later. Perhaps your normal financial behavior involved avoiding the numbers until pressure forced you to react. If you return to that version of normal without changing anything, the retrograde will seem to have given you nothing. The lessons were delivered through inconvenience. A delayed reply revealed how much emotional authority you had given one person. A postponed agreement exposed the questions you should have asked before accepting. A misunderstanding revealed that you and another person were using the same words while expecting different things. A family conflict showed how quickly guilt returns you to an old role. These disruptions gave you information. The mistake is treating the end of the retrograde as permission to stop using it. You may feel a powerful desire to move now. Mental pressure is beginning to release. A decision that felt impossible may suddenly look obvious. You may want to answer everyone, complete everything, and recover the time you believe you lost. Be careful. Lost time cannot be recovered by creating 10 new obligations. A conversation delayed for weeks does not need to become a 3-hour emotional confrontation tonight. A project that needed revision does not need to be launched at maximum scale tomorrow. A person who returns does not need to receive the same level of trust before their new behavior has been observed. The one mistake has several forms, but all of them come from the same fear. If I do not act immediately, I will lose the opportunity. Real opportunities can survive reasonable questions. Healthy relationships can survive boundaries. Strong projects can survive another review of the most important details. A person who truly wants to repair something can tolerate the time required to rebuild trust. The right beginning is not destroyed by one careful pause. It becomes stronger because of it. Mercury's retrograde occurred in Cancer, bringing emotional memory, family, safety, belonging, protection, and vulnerability into the communication process. That is why recent misunderstandings may have reached deeper than the words being spoken. When someone failed to reply, you may not have reacted only to the current silence. You may have reacted to every earlier experience in which silence meant abandonment. When someone questioned your decision, you may have heard the voices of people who taught you that safety required remaining predictable. When a financial concern appeared, your mind may have returned to an older period of instability. The retrograde allowed these emotional memories to rise. Now the goal is not to pretend they have disappeared. The goal is to stop allowing them to answer present questions without checking present evidence. You may feel relief and decide that every problem was only caused by Mercury retrograde. Then you return to the same person, agreement, or habit without addressing the pattern underneath it. The retrograde did not create every problem it revealed. Some misunderstandings were temporary. Others exposed structures that had existed for much longer. A temporary misunderstanding can often be corrected through missing information. A message sounded cold because the person was distracted. A payment was delayed because of a technical problem. A meeting date was misunderstood. Once the facts are corrected, the problem begins resolving. A structural problem behaves differently. You repeatedly ask for clarity, but the person continues speaking in a way that preserves several contradictory options. You repeatedly discuss your workload, but more responsibility arrives without revised compensation. You repeatedly establish a family boundary, but guilt is used to remove it. You repeatedly promise yourself that the project will be released, then redesign it whenever the release date approaches. These patterns are not repaired because Mercury turns direct. They require a different agreement, behavior, or system. If you treat a structural problem like a temporary misunderstanding, you will continue having the same conversation while expecting a different result. That is the mistake that can ruin everything. You received awareness. You cannot use awareness only to describe the problem more accurately. You must change your participation in it. Consider the relationship that has remained on your mind. Communication may have slowed, stopped, or become inconsistent during the retrograde. You reviewed old conversations and wondered whether the person would return after Mercury moved direct. They may return, but renewed contact is only an opening. It is not proof that the relationship has changed. If the person contacts you, do not respond from the first wave of relief. Read what they actually said. Did they acknowledge what happened? Did they explain why they are returning? Are they offering an apology, a conversation, a relationship, or only contact? There is a difference between "I have been thinking about you" and "I understand that my inconsistency affected you, and I want to discuss how we could rebuild this differently." The first statement may be sincere, but it describes emotion. The second begins addressing responsibility. Do not reject someone simply because their first message is imperfect. They may be nervous and begin carefully, but do not complete the meaning for them. Ask, "What are you hoping happens next?" Then listen. Do not turn their emotion into a promise they did not make. Do not turn your hope into evidence. The mistake would be allowing the relief of contact to erase every standard you formed during their absence. You decided you needed consistency. You recognized that unclear access was harming you. You knew another chance would require direct communication. Then their name appears and the old emotional cycle begins before they have demonstrated anything new. The lesson was not that you should never love them. The lesson was that love cannot continue replacing structure. You can remain open without becoming immediately available at every level. You can listen without promising reconciliation. You can forgive without restoring unlimited access. If the person has genuinely changed, a careful pace will not prevent that change from becoming visible. Consistency benefits from time. A performance becomes frustrated by time because it needs an immediate emotional reward. Observe what happens after the first conversation. Do they follow through? Do they remain present when the conversation becomes uncomfortable? Can they accept that trust may return more slowly than emotion? The answer will not be found only in what they say on July 24th. It will appear through what they continue doing after the intensity passes. For others, the mistake may happen in the opposite direction. You have been hurt and feel ready to send a long final message explaining every contradiction and every night you waited. Your feelings may be valid, but ask what the message is supposed to create. Do you want information? A changed behavior, a clear ending, an apology? Or do you want the other person to feel the exact weight you carried? A message designed to transfer pain rarely produces the closure you imagine. The recipient may become defensive or focus on one detail that allows them to avoid the central issue. Write the full emotional version privately, then identify the sentence that matters most. I am no longer available for contact that repeatedly becomes inconsistent. Or, I am willing to discuss repair, but only if we speak honestly about what happened and what would change. A clear message protects your purpose from being buried beneath emotional volume. Mercury Direct supports movement, but movement does not require saying everything at once. Work and career bring another version of the same mistake. A delayed offer, project meeting, or professional response may begin moving again. You may feel so relieved that you accept before reviewing the conditions. Remember what the retrograde showed you. Perhaps the scope was unclear. Perhaps several people gave different instructions. Perhaps the payment timeline was never defined. Perhaps the position sounded impressive while giving you responsibility without authority. The direct station is the moment to clarify these matters, not forget them. Before accepting, ask, what exactly am I responsible for delivering? Who approves the work? When will payment occur? Who owns the result? What happens if the timeline changes? Questions do not damage a serious professional relationship. They reveal whether the relationship can support seriousness. You may fear that asking makes you look difficult. Unclear agreements create far more difficulty later. Do not use the excitement of progress to justify a weak foundation. This is especially important if you have been waiting for recognition. Someone may praise your work or tell you that they see great potential in you. Praise can feel powerful after weeks of uncertainty, but praise is not payment, potential is not a contract, visibility is not ownership, an impressive title is not always authority. Examine the exchange. What are you giving? What are you receiving? What are you risking? What remains yours? You are not being negative by asking. You are preventing gratitude from replacing fair terms. If you are launching something, do not rush from revision into maximum exposure. The retrograde may have helped you improve your message, product, or strategy. That is valuable. The next step may still be a controlled test. Show the revised offer to several appropriate people. Publish a smaller version. Run the process once from beginning to end. Observe where the system struggles. Imagine that the launch succeeds. Can you deliver? Can you answer inquiries? Are the price and conditions clear? Success can damage an unprepared system faster than failure. Use the returning momentum to strengthen capacity before asking for maximum attention. Money carries the same warning. A payment may arrive. An idea may begin looking profitable. Someone may present an investment or business opportunity that feels connected to your new beginning. Do not spend future money before it becomes present money. Do not treat projected income as available income. Do not increase permanent expenses because one positive sign appeared. During the retrograde, you may have noticed that emotional stress affects your spending, that you avoid checking accounts because numbers create shame, or that you accept financial responsibility for others because saying no creates guilt. Mercury Direct will not automatically remove these habits. Only a changed process can do that. Before making a financial decision, calculate the full cost. Include time, fees, interest, maintenance, and the possibility that the result arrives later than expected. Ask how much you can lose without threatening essential stability. Ask whether the opportunity still works under a conservative outcome. Ask whether urgency is being used to prevent careful examination. A strong opportunity can remain strong after you calculate it. If the entire appeal disappears when realistic costs are added, excitement was carrying more weight than structure. The mistake is believing that positive energy makes risk management unnecessary. A good beginning deserves protection through accurate numbers, written terms, and clear limits. Family conversations may also become active around July 24th. Because the retrograde moved through Cancer, old emotional roles may have become easier to recognize. Perhaps you are the one who always solves the crisis, the one who lends money, the one who listens without receiving equal space, the one expected to agree because conflict would upset everyone. During the retrograde, you may have realized how much this role costs. Then someone asks for help, and the old response returns automatically. You say yes before checking your schedule. You promise support before reviewing your own obligations. The mistake is not helping your family. The mistake is confusing love with the restoration of an unsustainable role. You can help with structure. I can give you 2 hours, but I cannot manage the whole situation. I cannot provide that amount, but I can help you examine other options. I am willing to discuss this when we can speak calmly. A direct Mercury asks for direct language. You do not need to hide the limit inside a long explanation. Explanations become dangerous when you add words until the boundary disappears. Say what is true, allow the reaction, then examine whether the limit remains reasonable after the emotion settles. Someone else's discomfort does not automatically prove that you are wrong. Your guilt does not automatically prove you harmed them. Guilt may appear because you interrupted a familiar pattern. Another place where the mistake can damage the beginning is visibility. You may have spent the retrograde revising your work and doubting whether it was ready. Now you feel a burst of confidence and want to release everything, announce every plan, and promise a complete transformation. Slow the announcement. Do not slow the work. There is a difference. Public attention can give you the emotional reward of progress before the difficult work is complete. People congratulate you, they ask questions, you begin describing the future. The quiet work then feels less exciting. Protect the first stage from unnecessary performance. Complete the first version, test it, gather evidence, then share what has enough structure to survive opinions. The mistake is spending the energy of the beginning on explanation instead of construction. July 24th may also make you want to answer every delayed message. You are not required to reopen every connection because Mercury is direct. Some messages deserve a response because something practical remains unresolved. Some relationships deserve a conversation because both people are capable of repair. Other contacts belong to a version of your life that no longer needs another explanation. Choose according to relevance, not guilt. An unread message does not automatically represent unfinished spiritual business. A past relationship does not always need one final conversation. Sometimes closure appears when you stop requiring the other person to participate in it. There are several signs that you may be about to make the one mistake. The first is urgency without a real deadline. You feel that the message must be sent now or the offer accepted immediately, but nobody has provided a practical reason. Ask what changes if you wait until tomorrow. If the only answer is that waiting makes you anxious, the urgency may be emotional. The second sign is relief replacing evaluation. Someone returns, an offer appears, or a problem starts moving, and you immediately stop asking the questions that mattered yesterday. Feel the relief, then return to the facts. The third sign is saying, I know it is risky, but it feels meant to be. Intuition can be valuable, but it should not remove every practical question. A path can feel meaningful and still require preparation. A person can feel familiar and still be unhealthy. A business idea can be inspired and still contain weak economics. Meaning does not eliminate structure. The fourth sign is promising more than your actual calendar supports. You feel motivated and assume that motivation will remain constant. Look at the ordinary week. How much time is genuinely available? Which existing responsibility must be reduced? Can the plan survive fatigue, interruptions, and days without inspiration? A sustainable beginning must fit inside a human life. The fifth sign is returning to a person before deciding what must be different. You miss them, they miss you, but what is the new agreement? If nobody can answer that, you may be reopening contact rather than beginning a new relationship. The sixth sign is calling caution negative energy. Someone asks about cost, timing, capacity, or repeated behavior, and you reject the question because it interrupts your excitement. Discernment does not exist to kill hope. It helps hope survive reality. July 24th asks you to replace speed with clean movement. Clean movement responds to present evidence. It includes the lesson of the delay. It creates a next step your life can support. You do not need to move slowly forever. You only need to avoid moving so quickly that you fail to notice whether the road is the same road under different lighting. Choose the situation that feels most ready to move. Write one sentence describing what the retrograde revealed. I recognize that this relationship becomes confusing whenever commitment is discussed. I discovered that my project needs a clearer offer rather than more features. I realized that my financial stress grows because I avoid regular review. I saw that I agree to family requests before checking my own capacity. Then write, if I return to the old behavior, I will complete the consequence honestly. I will begin interpreting attention as commitment again. I will keep developing without testing demand. I will continue reacting to money instead of planning it. I will promise more than I can give and become resentful. Next, write the correction. I will ask what the person is prepared to build and observe consistency before restoring trust. I will test one clear offer with a limited audience. I will review my finances weekly and create a maximum spending limit. I will pause before answering requests and respond according to my real capacity. Your correction should be specific. I will protect my energy is meaningful but broad. I will not answer non-urgent requests until I have reviewed my schedule creates behavior. Then choose one action you can complete within 72 hours. Send one clear message. Review one agreement. Set one limit. Complete one test. Action does not have to be large. It has to move in the correct direction. Give the new behavior enough time to produce evidence. A relationship boundary may require several weeks. A work method may require several completed cycles. A financial plan may require a full month. Do not evaluate a structural change only through the first emotional reaction. You may set a boundary and feel guilty. You may publish and feel exposed. You may negotiate and fear the opportunity will disappear. You may stop chasing and feel the silence more strongly. These feelings do not automatically mean the new action is wrong. They may mean the old source of reassurance is no longer being used. Allow yourself time to learn the new structure. You can also complete a simple July 24th ritual. Take 2 sheets of paper. On the first, write, what Mercury Retrograde made me review. Name the conversation, relationship, agreement, financial issue, or plan that repeatedly demanded attention. Write the lesson underneath it. I kept accepting vague communication because I feared a direct answer. I continued adding work because releasing it made me feel vulnerable. I avoided the financial numbers because I connected them with shame. On the second page, write, how I will move differently. Choose one new behavior and one review date. Place the first page behind you and the second in front of you. Say, I will not use forward movement to escape the lesson. I carry the clarity with me and I leave the confusion behind. Then complete one physical action. Send the question, organize the document, change the access, transfer the money, publish the test. The action is the point of the ritual. Without changed behavior, a ritual can become another way to feel movement without creating it. After acting, do not search for immediate confirmation. A slow response does not mean the universe rejected your decision. One negative reaction does not mean the project has no value. One positive reaction does not prove the entire future. Act, observe, adjust. There is good news inside this warning. The one mistake is completely avoidable. You already know where communication became confusing. You know which person can activate your old reaction. You know which opportunity makes you ignore practical questions. You know which family request causes guilt to answer before reason. You know which project becomes larger whenever release approaches. The retrograde showed you the vulnerable point. July 24th gives you the chance to protect it. You are not moving forward as the person who entered this cycle. You have observed more. You have remembered more. You have recognized which questions must become more direct. You may still make mistakes. The goal is not perfect communication. The goal is quicker recognition and more honest correction. Perhaps you send a message too quickly, pause before sending the second. Perhaps you accept a request and realize the scope is unclear. Return and clarify it. Perhaps you spend emotionally. Examine the trigger instead of abandoning the entire financial plan. Progress is not destroyed by one imperfect action. It is destroyed when imperfection becomes permission to return completely to the old pattern. Before July 24th ends, choose one thing that will remain different. One question will become more direct. One boundary will remain after someone reacts. One financial decision will be based on numbers. One project will be released before perfection. One opportunity will be examined before acceptance. Choose the one carrying the greatest consequence. The end of the retrograde is not a command to accelerate every area simultaneously. It is permission to move where review has already produced enough understanding. Chosen one, the future does not need you to forget the delay. It needs you to use it. The delay showed where preparation was missing. The misunderstanding showed which assumption needed language. The return showed whether emotion had become capacity. The silence showed how much effort you were supplying. The revision showed what the project truly needed. The mistake on July 24th would be treating all of this as temporary retrograde chaos and returning unchanged. Do not do that. Allow the end of the cycle to create an ending inside your behavior. End the habit of interpreting what could be asked directly. End the agreement that depends on your inability to say no. End the process of spending all your creative energy on preparation. End the need to make a decision only after everyone approves it. Mercury is moving forward. Forward does not mean faster than your wisdom. Forward means the next action contains what the previous experience taught you. Write, "I will not repeat the old cycle" in the comments if you are ready to move without abandoning the lesson. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the days after Mercury turns direct will reveal which conversations, plans, and relationships are truly capable of moving with you. Mercury retrograde is over. Do not ruin the beginning by racing back toward the structure that made the review necessary. Pause. Remember what became clear. Ask the stronger question, protect the standard, then move. The road is opening again. This time carry your wisdom with you.